guys, and welcome back. This is ChosenArchitect, and today we're jumping back to some more StoneBlock 3 and getting ourselves some Polonium automated. Hopefully you guys are ready. So, jumping in today, yes, it's going to be all about Mekanism. And to kind of get started, thankfully, we have EMC, which is going to be very handy for this. But to get started with this, we are going to have to first make a few things, right? We still have to make the alloys, even though they're all EMCable, we still have to make them first. So first things first, metallurgic infuser, and thankfully for the most part, I can do all of this with just this one infuser. So yeah, it's going to take a little bit of time, which is fine. Thankfully, I do also have all of the upgrades, like speed upgrades. I went ahead and got all of those into the machine and energy. So thankfully, I can just go ahead and toss these in. This is going to be perfect because this is going to speed this whole machine up tremendously and get me started. So the goal for today is to get polonium, which is going to take a little bit of work, is involving Mekanism, of course. We are going to be setting up a fission reactor. And once we have the fission reactor set up, it's literally just feeding it fizzle fuel, which is a big setup in itself. Just a bunch of machines compiled together. I'll show you an easy way to set that up. And then we just literally build a fission reactor, feed it the fizzle fuel, give it water, which we have unlimited water in this pack in some capacity. And we're good to go basically from that point. So at this point, I have all of the alloys made up, which, yeah, actually really simple given that we have EMC. Now, I do need to craft them with all of their counterpart with the basic control circuits to make the all of the different circuits for all of our builds. And this should be it. Normally I would have to set up like a pretty large setup for this, but thankfully we don't have to automate all of the components. All I need to do is just add them over here to our list. Boop, boop, and just like that, man, we've got everything ready to go. That made things a whole lot easier. So at this point, I have all the machines made, which is really simple to set up. And I'm going to be setting up a fizzle fuel generator, which requires every single one of these machines. Plus, I think some extra ones that we might have to include into here. But there's a couple things we need to constantly feed this, and it's water. We're also going to need to feed this thing coal to make sulfur dust, or just feed it sulfur dust. We probably can just do that. And then we're also going to need yellow cake uranium, which all of that, I think that is EMCable. So let's go ahead and get this thing set up. So first machine on the list is the pressurized reaction chamber. Next will be the chemical oxidizer, being placed just like these. It will align them perfectly, or it should align them perfectly. The chemical infuser. Next is going to be the chemical injector, and then the rotary condensator. All of that set up just like this. And we shouldn't have to worry about anything so long as these are all lined up properly. Now on the other side, go directly from this spot, and we're going to place this down, and then which is the chemical dissolution chamber. And then right here is going to be our chemical infuser. Going to be placed right here as well. And then last but not least, the isotropic centrifuge. Place it right here. And this is going to be where we get our fizzle fuel from. This honestly might be the wrong way around. Don't quite know. We'll figure that out when we get everything powered up. But over here is going to be our last two machines. So we have an enrichment chamber, and then we also have a chemical oxidizer. So enrichment chamber can go right here, and then the oxidizer, or sorry, the chemical oxidizer goes right here, and then the enrichment chamber goes right there. Perfect. So what we'll do is we'll feed power through the middle here. And now we've got to route all of the piping. So we're going to have pipes routed all around because there's going to be different states being transferred. So we're going to have fluids and gases and also power running through here. Now, when setting this up, it's a lot of trial and error. Like for example, this right here, you would think it would immediately connect to the top. But we're actually going to have to go in and make sure that we have our side configs set up for gases, and make sure, for example, output is set to the top, because we're going to be outputting gas over to here, and this will be like our final area, and this will be the final mixing machine to push out to here. because we're basically making a giant chemical cocktail, which is what is going to power this machine. And we're going to basically build the reactor right in front of this. So there's still some components that we're going to need. One over here, we are going to need a machine that is going to produce oxygen and hydrogen, and that is called an electrolytic separator. So we are probably going to need, I think we just need one of these. So an electrolytic separator, grab the components needed, boop, there we go. And this is, so we need oxygen, I believe, to both of these, or this is an output, one or the other. I've got to remember exactly which one. I think this needs it. It's going to be a little bit easier to see once I actually get these machines up and running. So yes, this particular chemical infuser does need oxygen. So it's going to need oxygen, making the sulfur trioxide in here. So this also needs oxygen as well. So when we place this down, before we start feeding this thing any sort of water or anything like that, we need to make sure and verify that we are going to be closing off any of our gases for the hydrogen, which we can move this around. This should be the location for hydrogen, I believe. This side. Let's actually turn both outputs off just to make sure. And then let's get a, let's see, Project E. Let's fill this with a little bit of water real quick. If it'll let me. Will it let me? There we go. We can put that in that slot apparently, and that'll keep that full. And this right here is producing hydrogen on this side and oxygen on this side. Okay, so good thing I knew that, or remembered that. Because this needs to hook to the back, I'm guessing, but we don't want to mess with the hydrogen. So let's go ahead and set this to dumping excess right there, and go to gases. And now this should be the back, but we want to make sure we don't send to anything. So let's go ahead and remove these. I don't want to send anything to this, because if we start sending in hydrogen, then I've got to use another tool to pull the hydrogen out of the machine, which can be just sort of a pain. All right, so gases, let's find the back. And then we want to make sure that we are not sending hydrogen, we're sending this, the oxygen. Perfect. And then on the right side, we're also sending oxygen. So now, when I place down my pressurized tubes, we should only be sending oxygen from one place to another, including here. And then we're going to talk about upgrades later on, but it's really cool that the Evertide amulet can fit in here and just provide this with water. Now, when this machine starts working, it is going to be producing a byproduct, and we actually want to route that byproduct over here to this chemical tank. That way we can disperse that. Good thing about a chemical tank is we can set this to dumping excess, which will allow this to not fill this machine up and stop it from working, because that's kind of unfortunate. But we do need to define where this is going to go. And I don't know if by default that's exactly what's going to happen here. So we want the left side to be output, and then we can go ahead and hold shift to click to clear an area. And then I think that is good on this side. Oh yeah, almost forgot to mention, if you want the infinite water into a tank, infinite water can be easily done with just the Evertide amulet. Put this into empty mode, and it's just going to hold it here and continuously fill this tank with water, which is similar to how it's working in here as well. Now, if you're wondering where I'm getting this build from, this is coming from the wiki for the fizzle fuel. So the Mekanism has a fantastic wiki, and there's an image and everything laid out just like you see behind me. It's just so good. It makes it so easy. You don't have to think about it. You can just build it. And the amount of times I've done this without seeing this thing, I really wish I knew this in the future. So this right here is the setup, and you can find that on the wiki for fizzle fuel or Mekanism. You know, now that I'm actually looking at the recipe, this right here is just to make sulfur dust. So we can avoid this whole section right here, so long as we get ourselves an EMC link and we just pipe it the items we need. So sulfur dust, for example, is an item that we need, and I think we can just make this. So we just need to pulverize sulfur, right? So let's just take this to our pulverizer, and we are going to have an infinite amount of it via EMC. So that's perfect. And so already we've eliminated an entire process here. So this is already being powered. It's converting this into sulfur dioxide. That is going into this machine on this side. Over here we have oxygen, and this is producing sulfur trioxide. Now, I do need to send the sulfur trioxide over to the chemical infuser over here. And I don't think it's doing it automatically. So over here on the config, we need to send sulfur trioxide, which still should be a gas, right? Let's see, sulfur trioxide. We need to send that to the right as a blue. There we go. And now this has sulfur trioxide. So now we're getting into some more chemistry. So the sulfur trioxide, this machine is going to be taking water vapor because this right here is going to be decondensating. So at the moment, if we want to get water vapor, we need to be changing this, right? Yes, we need to take the water and convert it to vapor. So we have to toggle the operation to decondensating. And then that is feeding into here. So we have sulfur trioxide going into here. And then this is producing sulfuric acid, which is then being routed over here. Perfect. We already almost have this whole thing set up and ready to go. Now, for this setup, we do need to send it over to this. And I think we might be able to get rid of these because these are just going to be doing yellow cake uranium and making... So we might be able to get rid of this. Let's see. Yellow cake uranium actually has a EMC. So yes, we can completely get rid of this whole machine. Now, back to this. So we need to take this, and this is going to be receiving... Let's see. This actually needs... Wow. So yeah, this is going to be needing fluorite, which we do have. Let's grab 2 more EMC links because I think we're going to be able to break this up. Also, let's see. Uranium. We'll just go ahead and take this and get that converted. So that should convert over. Hopefully not send it. And while it's doing that, over here, we need to send this fluorite. So fluorite needs to be sent over to this machine, and we will use logistical transporters to do that. Let's see. I always forget how to spell this. FLU. Like when you never mess with this word. All right. We'll send this. Now it doesn't look like it has anywhere to be sent. So we do need to make sure that under the items config, it can actually accept on the right hand side. So we'll set that to red input. And there we go. That is going to be accepting it. Perfect. So that's going to be generating the thing it needs. Now that we have yellow cake uranium, well, we can get rid of that entire setup here. And we can change this up to be an EMC input. Perfect. So we'll set this to yellow cake uranium. There we go. And that should always send to that machine. And then everything should, if configured properly, make its way into here. So right now we have uranium oxide going in here, and now on the other side we have the hydrofluoric acid. Now this needs to be sent over, and I'm pretty sure it's a gas. The hydrofluoric acid might be a fluid, but we do need to send it. Let's see, we're under items. Yeah, gases. This right here, perfect. We just sent it to this machine. And then this should be sending it to here, but I think this machine might be backwards. It is really hard for me to know. Now, the middle here, this is also a gas. We need to make sure it's sending to the back. And now, there it goes. It's sending to the back. I think. Like I said, this machine might be backwards. There we go. So now it's sending to it. And then this, once it receives some power, which I'm going to run a power line underneath here and connect to the bottom of this. This whole setup is good. And we are producing fissile fuel that easily. Wow. So we will take a point and we're ready to go. We're hooked in. Oh man, it's almost as if I've done this a million times. Well, now that we have that done, it is time to get the reactor started and get it built. This is going to be the fun part, honestly, in my opinion. And we are going to be producing polonium before we know it. Now, to build the reactor, the actual fission reactor, we do need a few things. There's logic adapters, which we'll talk about those later. But we have the fission reactor ports. This is how you put things in and out. The reactor glass, and then we also have the fission assemblies, which are the fuel rods. And then, of course, on the top of fuel rods, we need control assemblies. Now, for this, I'm going to be building a pretty simple one. I'm not going super huge on this. This needs to be a 5x5 is the one I'm going for, which is going to have a 3x3 area in the middle. Now, building this out is pretty straightforward. We do need a solid surface on the inside, just like this. And then this is how I'm going to set up my fuel rods. They're going to be in a X pattern, just like this. And this is going to be several tall. So we're going to go, I think, 7. Let's see. 1, 2. Let me go ahead and count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 on the roof. Now, when you get to the top, the control rod assembly needs to go right here. And we're done, basically. I'm going to fill in the top. I'm going to cap off the top just like I did the bottom. But the sides, I'm going to actually use reactor glass, and this will allow me to be able to see into it. And this reactor glass is actually a kind of pretty nice glass, honestly. Now, once the structure is complete and is actually fully assembled, it should give off a redstone sort of look. It may actually have to contain a single port in order for it to do that. There it goes. And yeah, that's basically it. So on the back here, this is going to be a port where I send the fuel to it. On the other side, this is probably going to be where we get all the excess out. So this is where we're going to take the negative stuff. This actually produces what is going to be turned into polonium. Yes, this will, let's see, polonium. Yeah, nuclear waste. So we basically need to use a pressurized reaction chamber with some sulfur dust. And that is going to produce polonium, I do believe, if I checked that correctly. So yeah, pressurized reaction chamber, fluorite dust with polonium. To get polonium, it looks like we need to take the nuclear waste that is generated from this. Yes, from the fission reactor. So yeah, this is going to be generating nuclear waste, and we're just going to be sending it through this process here. Thankfully, it's not a bad process. However, it does produce it does produce spent nuclear waste, which is pretty nasty stuff. And we are definitely going to have to find a place to put that for sure. Now, to change up these ports, we're going to use a configurator, and we can actually shift right click to change this. You can see this is an output waste, output coolant, or input only. And we're going to input into this fizzle fuel. And so inside here, we now have some fizzle fuel building up. Yeah, for some reason this is stopped. For whatever reason, I'm going to have to debug this and figure out why everything is stopped. Yeah, I think I found the problem. It was this right here. Gases on this machine for some reason was offset. I don't even know how it was working earlier. All right, so we need to fill this with water consistently. And so this is where I think I'm going to take and make the highest tier mechanism tank, and also the highest tier mechanism pipes. So we're gonna need the highest tier pipes, and we're gonna use that to dispel a few different things and fill this up. So we need to fill it with water and keep water in here, right? Coolant, which is the water. This is also going to send out vapor. So it's going to send out steam, and we need a way to get rid of the steam because I'm not going to be sending it to a turbine. Because we're literally going to be using this just to generate this one resource. So I think I have everything ready to go. I have the highest tier tank, this right here. And so I should be able to put the Evertide amulet in here. Get that bad boy inside. Make sure this is set to empty. And that should always stay there. And then I'm going to take my mechanical pipe, and we're going to get this filled with water. Hopefully. So water's being filled. Is it being filled? It is being filled. Oh, it's being filled very slowly because I used the wrong pipe. we need to use the ultimate version. There we go. Now we see it raising up. Now the water, honestly, with this setup, the water is probably going to be our biggest factor. Thankfully, we just need to let this just run. It just needs to run, doesn't need to run crazy fast. We just need to generate at least 3 polonium pellets every now and then. So now the coolant, let's go ahead and figure that out, because for this, we're going to need a trash can. And I believe the ultimate trash can is the one that I can use to dispel this. So I'm also going to need pressurized. I think pressurized is how that works. So I can go ahead and activate this real quick. And it's going to produce some waste, scram. And as you can see, we have steam built up in here. Let's see. Will regular pipes work? I honestly can't tell. I don't think so. I think we have to use gas because it's technically a gas, right? So let's go ahead and send the gas out. And I think that should be empty now. Perfect. Now for the scary part. This needs to be set to output waste. And well, let's go ahead and get the setup for processing said waste. So this is the setup for one of the most dangerous things that could happen to my base is this could cause radiation and, well, basically ruin the entire pack. But if we're safe about it, we should be fine. So over here, I have sulfur dust, and then I have fluorite. This is all going to the machines. I have the item input back here, so fluorite's going in. On the other side, we have sulfur dust going in. Now, if all is true here, basically what we'll take in is nuclear waste, which comes from the fission reactor. This will then get converted with that sulfur into polonium. This polonium then should get exported over here into this. And then with that fluorite dust, that will then get converted into an item called a polonium pellet. And then it will output spent nuclear waste to the front. And that's where I need to get some ultimate pressurized tubes and route this all on top of here. And then this, right, needs to be sent to the back. And so if all works, like as you can see, we do have some nuclear waste already in here. If all works, we should be good. Now, if you break any of these pipes or these machines now, it could irradiate your entire base. Yeah, it could definitely irradiate the entire base. And I'm going to be setting up a bunch of these, but keep in mind that it really isn't going to help all that much, honestly. Like, no matter how many of these we put down, it's still going to be a problem. Just the nuclear waste, the spent nuclear waste is just such a pain. Such a pain. Because it doesn't disperse fast enough, in my opinion. We'd have to create a massive, massive array of these in order for it to successfully disperse the amount that this is going to produce. But this will at least contain it and hold it for now. So, that is basically done. And then it's going to send the polonium to the inner chest. And thankfully that item isn't irradiated. We can actually hold it. So, we have just about everything ready to test. Let's go ahead and activate this thing. So we have a little bit of fizzle fuel. And I know this thing is incredibly loud. Incredibly loud. But it looks like it's holding with the water and everything's holding here. So let's go ahead and stop this for a moment. We can go into this and search a mechanism and go to recent. And yeah, we need to change this. I think it's under generator. It should be called fission. Here we go. Fission reactor mechanism. Yeah, we need to definitely like reduce how loud this is, if at all possible, or just turn it off. There we go. Oh my gosh, because that is a really loud noise. There we go. I like to hear the fission reactor. I found out, yeah, I like to hear it, but it's really scary actually having the sound turned off. But yeah, it's working, but it's pretty slow, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put upgrades on every single one of these machines. I'm going to swap out the power cables for them. Go ahead and turn this off for now. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and swap out the power cables. We should be safe to do this. Upgrade the power cables, and then I'm going to upgrade every single machine with their max upgrades. So with all the machines upgraded, they should be producing quite a bit now of fizzle fuel, and this will allow us to definitely bump this up a little bit. Now, we are going to run into a problem where we probably will not have enough water going into this, but we can actually change this. So we go to stats here, and based on how many we have in here, we should be able to set our rate limit a little bit higher than 0.1. Let's try 5. And let's go ahead and activate this. Make sure our water is good. As you can see, our water is depleting. Not good. Not good. So we definitely need to make sure we can feed this thing more water. To do that, I mean, honestly, we're probably just going to need more cables maybe, or more of these tanks. So after a little bit of trial and error, I seem to have got this set up, I think, right about where it needs to be. I was running into an issue with the water, but I've added a few more tanks and a few more pipes running to this, and it's allowing me to get up to 14. If I go to 15, the water starts decreasing again, but it also puts us in the yellow. I would like to stay right there in the yellowish green, which is right where we're at. And for this size of reactor, it's actually pretty decent, and it should be sustainable. Now, here's a problem. We're producing a little bit too much, and this is max upgraded, by the way. We're producing a little bit too much nuclear waste for our current setup. The only way to fix this would be to add 2 pressurized reaction chambers. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lower this down to like 12, maybe 12 overall, because we have to keep in mind everything that's going on, and including this. So if 12 is like the magic number for keeping this constantly running at this pace, then that's good. It looks like we're still getting too much. Maybe 10 or 11, probably 10. Wow. So yeah, without adding 2. But like I said, this is going to be constantly running. We shouldn't have to worry about too much after we get it kind of set. It seems like right there is the sweet spot. So 10, which kind of makes sense. Yeah, and that's producing polonium pellets, and is literally just going to keep producing them. I mean, we've automated polonium in literally an episode. Also, I think this setup over here is 100% keeping up with the dispelled nuclear waste. It is able to empty all these barrels before it does its next polonium process. So in reality, this is 100% working and dispelling all the waste as well. Awesome. Well, guys, I know that today was a bit more of a technical adventure, but I hope you guys enjoyed. Of course, I had an absolute blast getting this thing set up, and boy, am I looking forward to the future. For the future, we got all of our main mods done. Now we have a few more projects, including the food, which is going to need a bit of an area and a bit of crop working. And we still have to get a mechanism, or not a mechanism, a create setup going. There's still some things to do, but we are edging so close to completing this pack already. It's mind-boggling. So, guys, I want to say thank you so much for watching, and of course, click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Join the Discord as well, discord.gg/ChosenArchitect, and follow me over on Twitch, where I do a live stream. I've been playing the Vault Hunters SMP over there and having an absolute blast. Tons and tons of crazy moments just happening nonstop. So, guys, be sure to check that out. I'll see you in the next one, and as always, thanks for watching.